much. I appreciate a standing ovation before I've said anything. That's great. I appreciate that. But thank you for the invitation to join you this afternoon. And I also want to thank, and I'm very honored to be part of Chicago Ideas Week. It's very exciting to be part of this discussion we're having, this conversation as a community about our transitioning service members. And as the Deputy Chief of the Army Reserve, I'm going to talk to you in the next few minutes about what I know best, which is what we're doing in the Army Reserve for our soldiers who, like me, are citizen soldiers, who took an oath, many of us never expecting to serve as we have served in the last 11 years, but we stayed. And we've also had more join us. You may not realize this, but the Army Reserve, as part of your Army, has over 205,000 citizen soldiers that are members. Over 200,000 of them have deployed, and some of them have deployed 4 or 5 times. And they are still joining, and they still expect to be utilized because they love this country, and they feel they have something special to offer. You may actually know, whether you know it or not, someone who is either in the reserves, a family member of a reserve member, because these individuals live in your community, just like I live in my community. We go to work every day. We may be the mechanic that works on your car. But as a reserve soldier, they're working on tanks and Bradleys and really cool stuff. They like to do that. They may be your dentist. My dentist back in Madison, Wisconsin, is actually a member of the Army Reserve. She joined late in life, just came to that decision. I never talked to her about it. She knew I was in the military, but she felt she wanted to do something special. She wanted to give back. The person who checks you out on the grocery line, they may very well be in the Army Reserve. You just don't know it. So as I talk to you in the next few minutes about a lot of the programs we have for these special members of our community, I want you to start thinking about things we can do to make these programs better, to expand their reach. And as we evolve after these 11 years of war, we can't have these programs remain static. They have to evolve as our population's needs evolve, and we need to support them. So I want to talk to you about a soldier. First, I'm going to talk about our employer partnership program, because that's really the linchpin for what we're doing. Back in 2008, the Army Reserve created an employer partnership office, and their sole purpose was to link soldiers with employers. Because we felt very strongly, or at least my chief did at the time and the current chief does, that soldiers bring something very special to the table. As General McChrystal and General Powell described earlier, you may see this as an infantry soldier, but that doesn't fully explain what they've done, the responsibility they've had, the equipment they've had to be responsible for. They do more than just supervise people. They're expected to mentor those soldiers who work for them, talk about their professional career goals, and sometimes help them out when they have family challenges. So while you may see a soldier, I see someone who covers an immense amount of responsibilities and truly touches the people that work for them and with them, who touches their lives. The employer partnership leverages those skills, leverages what we teach them in the military, allows them to connect with employers that need some of those same talents, and we all win. We win because we've got employees who, as someone said earlier, are timely, they understand about being a member of a team, and they know the importance of dedicating yourself to something that is truly greater than you, and pulling so we all cross the finish line. One of our success stories I'm going to talk to you about a couple, is Kenai Drilling. The HR manager for Kenai Drilling, Jay Mercer, talked about why they want soldiers, and I'm going to quote him. And it's pretty interesting. He says, you know, soldiers are good at drilling because it's hard, dirty work, away from home, with supervisors writing you pretty good. Doesn't that sound like a soldier? It does. So Specialist Timothy Thomas, I'm going to talk a little bit about him. He's one of those outstanding young soldiers that benefited from the employer partnership. Timothy was laid off in 2008 as we were starting our current economic downturn and was having difficulty finding employment. He joined the Army Reserve in 2010, and took advantage of the Employer Partnership Office. And this is him with one of his new best friends. You probably can't tell, but that's Antonio Banderas. He cleans up pretty good, huh? So he took the opportunity to take and leverage the Employer Partnership Office and is working for Kenai Drilling. And they're extremely happy to have him. He's one of those soldiers who's an asset to this company. How come I never get to meet Antonio Banderas? Okay, anyway. There are other organizations that are also capitalizing on soldier skills. A major partner in the Employer Partnership Office is a national trucking company called Schneider Trucking. They have hired 1,800 veterans, and they have 180 in their apprenticeship program. And if you think about it, as we described earlier, you've got somebody driving an 18-wheeler, they're driving down a route in Afghanistan or Iraq. There's no reason they can't come back here and navigate the Kennedy Expressway. No way. So they value the skills, the morals, the work ethic that these soldiers bring to the table, and that's why they are a committed partner. We're talking about also active component officers and non-commissioned officers who are transitioning from active duty. Maybe they decided they want to go back to school. Maybe their families have said, you know, we've had a lot of deployments. Well, we want to retain those individuals and their talent in the Army Reserve because we've invested a lot in their training, in their education. And as a taxpayer myself, I feel really strongly about retaining those individuals. So we want them to transition to the Army Reserve, and this program, the Employer Partnership Program in the office, is a way to do that. Find them a job in whatever community they decide to move to when they leave the service, link them up with an Army Reserve unit so they can continue to support and help us as an Army Reserve remain strong. We also take care of our families. That's a priority for the Army and also for the Army Reserve. Our families make our soldiers strong. Our soldiers are why our Army is strong. And you as a community and all of us together can make our nation stronger if we support them and their families. So I'm going to talk in the next few minutes about a couple of programs we have. And as I said earlier, I'm going to describe these programs very generally, but I want you to think about what can we do to improve what we're offering. As I said, we need to evolve. We need to change as this population comes back and we recognize that they have different needs than we originally thought. So we have Army Strong Community Centers, and we also have Fort Family. Fort Family is a 24/7, 800 number that individuals can call for assistance, information on how to contact the right office for whatever your challenges are. The Army Strong Community Centers take all comers. It doesn't matter if you're a member of the Army Reserve. You can be a member or a veteran of any branch of our military service. One of those in Rochester, New York, assisted a veteran who was bipolar and homeless. He needed assistance getting food, getting medicine, and finding a place to stay. And the Rochester Center was able to help him and connect him with people who could help him move forward with his life. As we talk about our families, we cannot forget some of our youngest heroes, the children. The Yellow Ribbon Program, which some of you may be familiar with and some of you may not, is a program that's designed for reserve soldiers to assist them pre-deployment, during their deployment, their families, while they're not here, and when they come back after deployment, there are various programs provided for them to help them with their legal issues, any employment or educational benefits they need explained, their veterans benefits, but we bring in everybody. We bring in the spouse, we also bring in single soldiers, and we provide child care while the families are there so they can focus completely on the behavioral health specialists that are there, the job opportunities that they're being provided in terms of counseling. So we make it a holistic approach to the entire family. For our children, especially our Army children, a lot of them don't live on installations. A friend of mine is the Adjutant General for the state of Iowa, and he's reminded me frequently that Iowa has absolutely no military installations. So we have to rely on Army Reserve and National Guard resources to support not just our soldiers, but those soldiers who are separating from service. Take care of them and address their needs. And the children as I said, are an integral part of that. So there's something called tutor.com, it's just one example. What's provided for our Army kids? It's an opportunity for them to connect with tutors online in over 16 subjects. There have been over 8 million sessions with Army kids with this particular program. So I kind of call that a success story. We also partner with the Small Business Administration, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Department of Labor for these yellow ribbon programs to provide other opportunities. Because as one of the speakers described earlier, you've got to be pretty entrepreneurial when you're out there away from all your resources and trying to make do with very little. You've got to think on your feet, you've got to be creative, you've got to be an innovator, you've got to rock. So soldiers rock. We also have an opportunity for people who maybe didn't think about serving to join us. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a really amazing person named Sandra Coast. Now, Sandra decided to join the Army at 51. I'm 54, so I give her a lot of respect for deciding to make that decision. Her son had joined the Marine Corps. They completed basic training about the same time. And as I look at this photo, I always have to laugh because I look at Sandra in the front and look at the young man behind her. Who looks more tired? He looks like he's kind of worn out by basic training, but she's raring to go. She's raring to go. So she's an example of a citizen who had a friend who had deployed about 3 times and thought about it and said, you know what? I want to do my part. I want to play a role. I want to add value. And that's exactly what she did. She's still serving as far as I know, and I think that's just great. Now, from my own personal experience, very briefly, backstage, Mr. Brokaw asked me, well, how did you get into the Army? Well, I had to confess, it wasn't a plan. It was kind of serendipitous. I went to a small Catholic university in the Midwest, and I was a liberal arts major who needed a science credit. I can't cut up a chicken. I didn't want to take anything that involved getting messy. So I looked around and I wanted to take astronomy, but I was working my way through college. So I had night jobs, couldn't do that. Saw a gentleman sitting at a table and it said ROTC. I had no idea what that meant, but below it said Military Science Department. This was too good to be true. And like any recruiter, he was too good to be true. But I'm still here. All these years later, it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I don't look back on anything that I did with regret. It's been an honor to serve, and I'm going to continue to serve until they tell me to unlace my boots and go home. But most of all, as I talk to you this afternoon, I just wanted to highlight a couple of the programs, because I think sometimes there's a perception we don't have programs out there or programs that are serving our soldiers. We do, but we need your help. We need continued support for some of those programs. We need you, as I said, to get involved, get educated, find out where we have gaps in services, and as a community, come together and provide the support that we need for our veterans. Because this is our next greatest generation. They are going to be our next members of our state and local legislatures. They're going to be our doctors. They're going to be our attorneys, our engineers who help improve our infrastructure. And their kids and their spouses are also going to continue to add value. But we have to support them. We have to give them everything we have in terms of new ideas and opportunities. One of the things we do know is we do have mental health and behavioral challenges. But again, you can't be afraid of these soldiers. They just need to know that you care. It goes beyond saying, as someone said, you've got a sign at the airport. It goes beyond saying, as we often do to other people, how you doing today? You really don't want to know. But you've got to want to know. You've got to get to know these soldiers. So as I said, they live next door to you. They're in your church. You run into them in the grocery store, pumping gas. They're your neighbors. Even if you just know them by sight, say, how are you doing? Invite them over for dinner. Take care of their families when they're gone. Because those families, as I said, sometimes find themselves out there without installation support. We can do this. I know we can do it. But again, we have to be educated. So one thing I want you to remember is the Heroes to Hired website, h2h.jobs. Every employer needs to sign up for that, not just Fortune 500 companies, the little company down the street, the dry cleaners around the corner. Everyone needs to put the jobs they have out there, post them, and hire a soldier, hire a sailor, hire a Marine, hire our heroes. Thank you.